Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, entitled The Status Quo, Chapter 5, Vidura's Talks with Maitreya, and we are on text number 6. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Text number 6, please repeat. Yata punasveka idam naveshya.
Yata punasveka idam naveshya.
Yata punasveka idam naveshya.
Yata punasveka idam naveshya.
Shete guhayam samidritta vritti.
Shete guhayam samidritta vritti.
Shete guhayam samidritta vritti.
Shete guhayam samidritta vritti.
Yogeshvara dishvara eka eta.
Yogeshvara dishvara eka eta.
Yogeshvara dishvara eka eta.
Yogeshvara dishvara eka eta.
Anupravishto bahudaya tasi.
Anupravishto bahudaya dasi.
Anupravishto bahudaya tasi.
Anupravishto bahudaya dasi.
Yata punasveka idam naveshya.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Yogeshvara dishvara eka eta.
Yogeshvara dishvara eka eta.
Anupravishto bahudaya tasi.
Anupravishto bahudaya dasi.
Please chant.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Shete guhayam guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit. Yata. Go ahead.
Yatha punasveka idam niveshya.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vrittihi.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vrittihi.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit. Yata punasveka idam niveshya. Yata punasveka idam niveshya. Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti. Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti. Yogeshvara ishvara eka etad. Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad. Anupravishto bahuda yatasit. Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Anybody else?
Yatha punasveka idam niveshya.
Yata punasveka idam niveshya.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Shete guhayam sanivritta vritti.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Yogeshwaradhishvara eka etad.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Anupravishto bahuda yatasit.
Seek.
Sit. Oh, sit.
Word for word synonyms, please repeat. Yata,
Yata,
as much as.
as much as.
Punaha,
Puna,
again.
again.
Sve,
Sve,
in his.
in his.
Ke,
Ke,
form of space.
form of space.
Virat rupa.
Virat rupa.
Idam,
Idam,
this.
this.
Niveshya,
Nivesha,
entering into.
entering into.
Shete,
Shete,
lies down.
lies down.
Guhayam,
Guhayam,
within the universe.
within the universe.
Saha,
Saha,
he, the personality of Godhead.
he, the personality of Godhead.
Nivritta,
Nivritta,
without endeavor.
without endeavor.
Vritti,
Vritti,
means of livelihood.
means of livelihood.
Yoga Ishvara,
Yoga Ishvara,
the master of all mystic powers.
the master of all mystic powers.
Adishvara,
Adishvara,
proprietor of everything.
proprietor of everything.
Eka,
Ekaha,
one without a second.
one without a second.
Etat,
Etat,
this.
this.
Anu Pravishtaha,
Anupravishtaha,
entering afterwards.
entering afterwards.
Bahuda,
Bahuda,
by innumerable.
by innumerable.
Yata,
Yata,
as much
as much as.
Asi,
Asi,
exists.
exists.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai.
So this is Vidura speaking to, who's he speaking to, Avi? Maitreya.
I was going to say that.
You were going to say that, okay, good. So Vidura says, he lies down on his own heart, spread in the form of the sky. And thus placing the whole creation in that space, he expands himself into many living entities, which are manifested as different species of life. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance, because he is the master of all mystic powers and the proprietor of everything. Thus he is distinct from the living entities. Purport. The questions regarding creation, maintenance, and destruction, which are mentioned in many parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are in relation to different millenniums, kalpas. And therefore they are differently described by different authorities when questioned by different students. So kalpa means a day of Brahma, 12 hours of Brahma. When we say day of Brahma, we're talking about his 12-hour daytime. And in that 12-hour daytime of Brahma, which equals for us 4.32 billion years. So many things are going on during that daytime. Then he also has a 12-hour night. And during that nighttime of Brahma, which is another 4.32 billion years, our part of the world, the middle of the planet, the middle of the universe, called Bhumandala, our part of the world and everything below it gets drowned in water, submerged in water. It doesn't get destroyed. You know, like you might take something, and submerge it in water. You're not destroying it, you're just drowning it. So all the living entities from our part of the universe all the way down, they go to sleep. They go back to the body of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and they're not manifested for that whole night of Brahma. At the end of Brahma's day, which is 100 years times 360 of his days, at the end of his life, which is 311 trillion years in our time, then everything's actually destroyed, not just submerged in water, but annihilated. So a kalpa is a daytime of Brahma. So Prabhupada's mentioning here that we find in the Bhagavatam different students asking different teachers questions about the creation. And if you study it intricately, you'll see that there's differences in the description. Like, well, that's strange. This teacher explained it a little bit differently, in detail, a little bit differently than the other teacher. And Prabhupada has said here, and indeed Jiva Goswami himself says this, that in different kalpas or different days of Brahma, the details will differ. So Prabhupada says this regarding Krishna Leela, that Krishna's Leela is repetitive every day of Brahma. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening, but the details differ. And he says, just like you and I, we do if we're regulated people, we basically do the same thing every day. Wake up at this time, maybe we go to Mangalarti, or we go to work, or we go to school, we have lunch, we have dinner, we do this, we do that. But the details differ. You don't eat the exact same food every lunchtime. You don't talk to the exact same people on the phone at the exact same time. So the details differ, but the general story stays the same. So Prabhupada makes this point about Krishna Leela also. So this is called Kalpa Beta. Beta means difference. Just like in the term Achintya, Beta, Beta. Beta means difference, Abeta means sameness. So Kalpa Beta means in the different kalpas, details will differ. So now Prabhupada makes an important point, and he says, there's no difference regarding the creative principles. Only the details differ, not the principles, and the Lord's control over them. Yet there are some differences in the minute details because of different kalpas. The gigantic sky is the material body of the Lord, called the Virat Rupa. And all material creations are resting on the sky, or the heart of the Lord. So here, the sky is not referring to that thing over there that we fly our airplanes in. This is the greater sky of the whole universe. The space, if you will. Scientists would call it space. Unlimited space. So that whole space of the material creation makes up the Virat Rupa, or the universal form of the Lord. And from that universal form of the Lord, everything emanates. So everything's resting in that form, and everything emanates from that form. And that Virat Rupa is being figuratively described as the heart of the Lord. Therefore, beginning from the sky, the first material manifestation to the gross vision, down to the earth, everything is called Brahman. Sarvam called Idam Brahma. There's nothing but the Lord, and He is one without a second. So why is it said that there's nothing but the Lord? Does that mean you're God?
No.
Does that mean this pillar is God?
What?
The pillar is God?
No, we're part of us.
Yes and no.
Okay,
Yes and no. Oh yeah, that's a really evasive answer.
Simultaneously one and different.
Lord is in everything.
Simultaneously one and different.
Yes, Achintya Beda Abeda.
Yeah.
Just like in a potter's shop, everything is clay, right? It's all clay, but one thing is a drinking vessel, one thing is a cooking pot, one thing is an eating plate. So you say everything's clay, yet they're distinct, unique identities. They have different functions and purposes. So the point being made here is that everything is ultimately the Lord. Because everything in the material creation is part of coming from the Virat Rupa. So Achintya Beda Beda, simultaneously one and different. The living entities are the superior energies, whereas matter is the inferior energy. And the combination of these energies brings about the manifestation of this material world, which is in the heart of the Lord. End of Srila Prabhupada's purport. The combination of these energies brings about the manifestation of this material world. So the point here is that based on our desire, matter will manifest in its different detailed forms. First we have a desire. Then that desire will manifest, in the subtle body as desire, thinking, feeling, willing, and then it will manifest on the physical platform. Like right now, I have a desire to build a big skyscraper building. So I'm just thinking about it. There's no skyscraper building here, but I'm thinking, I'd like to have a skyscraper building. So I'm thinking, and I'm feeling, and then I'm willing it. And so by that will, I now start to recognize the ingredient. Over there's some stone. Over there's some wood. Over there's some, whatever. And then I start gathering up the ingredients, and before you know it, I've got my skyscraper building. So like that, the whole material world manifests in its detailed form according to the desire of the living entities. Not that we're in control of the matter, like by my will, matter is moving, but rather Paramatma, as the overseer and permitter, is moving matter. So no atom moves without the sanction of the Lord. No electrons, do their little thing, whatever. matter moves by the direction of the Lord. And what's he doing? What's the purpose of Paramatma in this world? What job does he have?
The guidance.
Watching,
The guidance.
witnessing,
Watching, witnessing,
guiding,
guiding,
permitting,
sanctioning, fulfilling the desires of the living entities. Now you might say, well, what does he do that for? Like, maybe I desire to kill somebody. Well, guess what? Paramatma facilitates it, if it's in my karma to be successful in my attempt. So you might say, well, that's not very nice. Paramatma, facilitated somebody murdering another person. But that's his function in this world, to simply fulfill the living entity's desires according to their karma, whether they'll be successful or not. But that's not his ultimate function. His ultimate function is that he's always tapping you on the shoulder. Hey Jiva, look over here. Pay attention to me. You're not that body, you're spirit soul. So the whole purpose of the creation is to rectify the living entities. Okay, you want your material desires fulfilled? There you go. I'll facilitate your desires. There you go. Look how happy you become. Aren't you happy? Yeah, you look so happy, don't you? And so Paramatma's letting all this nonsense go on so that we can become a little fried. And we get beat by the material energy in the form of the threefold miseries. And after some time, maybe the living entity will start to inquire, what's wrong with this picture? How come I'm getting my desires fulfilled, I'm successful in pursuing my material desires, but I'm not happy. I keep getting beat by material energy. What's the problem? Must be the government's problem, their fault, or my parents' fault, or something. So just as material energy is always existing and always has the function of, beating the living entity, simultaneously, what's always existing is spiritual knowledge. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he sent forth generations of men and demigods with knowledge of yajna, of knowledge of how to live in this world to become spiritually aware. So scripture is that the Vedas are spoken at the time of creation. Lord Brahma receives the Vedas. Nothing else exists yet. Only in principle, not in form. Only in potential. So Brahma receives the Vedas from the get-go. And he passes it on to his son Narada. Narada passes it on to Vyasadeva and so many others. Vyasadeva obviously gives it to us. So this knowledge is constantly available for those who have the ears to hear. So what's the purpose of the knowledge? The purpose of the knowledge is to rectify the living entities so that we, on our own volition, take up our constitutional position of being loving servants of Krishna. So this is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that this is the Amala Purana. Amala means pure. So there's 18 Puranas that Vyasadeva compiled for us. And of those, the Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the Amala or pure Purana. Why? Because it only has one lesson, and that is pure devotional service. It's not talking about karma kandya, how to, improve your material life through karmic, scripturally guided karmic activities. It's not talking about the jnana karma, kanda, about how to improve your life by the scripturally ordained method of acquiring jnana, etc., etc. It only talks about anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavritam anukulina krishna nushilanam bhaktir uttamam. Only pure devotional service, free of all karma and jnana. However, when we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we come across all these long sections of disciple and guru discussing things like creation. geography of the universe, like fifth canto. And we might think, well, what does this have to do with pure devotional service? Can we just get to pure devotional service? But part of understanding Krishna is understanding his creative abilities through his not he, but through his expansion of the Purusha avatars. So before you can love somebody, you have to appreciate somebody. That's just sentimentalism to say, I love this person. I really, 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 really love this person. But you don't know about their powers and abilities and talents and whatever. You don't appreciate them, actually. So how can you love them? So before love comes appreciation. So throughout the Bhagavatam, we're going to hear devotees appreciating the Lord. And Vidura here, he asked a question in yesterday's verse about, can you explain how the Lord expands in his different incarnations, like this. And in today's verse, he's not asking a question, but he's expressing some of his own realization, his own appreciation of how the Lord, this whole world is situated on the Lord's heart in the form of Virat Rupa. And as Prabhupada pointed out, different teachers will explain things a little differently because they might be speaking of different kalpas. Remember, Lord Brahma's day is 12 hours. When that 12 hours is over, our part of the world and below become flooded. But those above us, their worlds don't get flooded. So that means, for example, Lord Brahma, for example, Narada Muni, they're not affected by the nighttime of Lord Brahma. Their life is still going on in the higher realms, So when Narada Muni comes and speaks to Vyasadeva, for example, when Brahma speaks to Narada, when Narada speaks to Vyasadeva, they are remembering past days also. Unlike us, who've completely forgotten the last day of Brahma because we're asleep for 4.32 billion years before we again manifested in this day of Brahma. So we shouldn't be bewildered by the fact that different details will be given. But here's the difficulty. We do become bewildered. Wait a minute. Brahma explained it like this. And now, Maitreya is explaining it a little differently. That must be a mistake. Right? Like if you explain arithmetic to me, and then I go over here and you explain arithmetic differently.
I definitely will.
Yes. So I'm going to say, well, one of those teachers is wrong. One or both of them are wrong. Because you can't have somebody over here saying 2 + 2 = 4 and somebody over here saying 2 + 2 = 5. So then we start doubting, my teachers make mistakes. They're not bona fide. And if they made mistakes about arithmetic, well, I probably shouldn't believe them about cooking recipes either. Or maybe their political, commentary is wrong too. So this is the difficulty when we read Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is in fact like a summary of all the Puranas. So we will get different, like chronological and geographical type of information. We may find discrepancies in it, so-called discrepancies. And if we don't understand that it's because different teachers might be bringing up details from previous kalpas, then we're going to start seeing mistakes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're going to have doubts. And once we start doubting, then, well, maybe the other things the Bhagavatam says aren't completely correct either. I mean, maybe it's just figurative language, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Embellishments.
Yeah, like
Everywhere.
then we come to Krishna's Leela. He didn't really marry 16,108 wives. That's an exaggeration. He didn't appear from the womb of Devaki with 4 arms and then come with 2 arms. He didn't really kill a snake that was, or like Putna, her body became 8 miles. Oh, what an exaggerate. These are just stories. They're just mythology. They have like a moral behind them, like Aesop's fables, they're not real stories, but they have a good lesson behind them. So that's what Krishna Leela is about. They just have nice little stories, lessons to learn, but they're not real. So this is the danger, that it's a slippery slope, right? You have a slippery slope, and you take, I'm just going to take 1 or 2 steps down that slippery slope, and no, you're not. Good luck taking 1 or 2 steps down that slippery slope. In 5 minutes, shoom, you'll have slid all the way to the bottom. Break your neck or something. So Krishna himself warns us in Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter called Transcendental Knowledge, chapter 4, text 40. Agyascha shradhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokostina paro nasukam samshayatmana. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there's happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So we don't want to go on that slippery slope. Especially when we come to the 5th canto, we're going to be like, oh my God, this is like ridiculous, the geography that's explained about the universe. We're going to see some discrepancies even right there in those chapters. Wait a minute. Over here, this verse clearly says, in the Sanskrit, not just Prabhupada's translation, that Jambudvip is 10,000 yojanas in diameter. But then over here it says Jambudvip is 100,000 yojanas in diameter. See, mistake. This is all just make-believe, figurative language. It's not real, blah, blah, blah. And one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. And before we know it, Krishna Leela is mythology. So we read Srimad Bhagavatam for the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is, stated right at the very beginning, that the Srimad Bhagavatam does away with all cheating religion, materially motivated religion, and just gets straight to the point of pure devotional service. And this pure devotional, knowledge of pure devotional service can eradicate the threefold miseries. So we have to judge a thing by its result. We have to take the recipe to the kitchen, put it to the test, and if it comes out fantastic, then it comes out fantastic. And that's your proof. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting, as they say. So Lord Chaitanya then came to stress the importance of practice, of chanting Hare Krishna, and imbibing the principles of Bhagavad Gita, of pure devotional service, and getting your own results. Don't take it from somebody else's word. Don't take it simply on faith. Take it to your laboratory, which is your life. Put it to the test. Get your results. That's your realization. That's your proof. And not be bewildered by little details that differ. You'll see in the different Puranas different stories about how Shukadeva Goswami took birth. Just so many differences. But the real importance is, what is the message? So anyway, probably when we hit the 5th canto, we'll talk more on that topic. So we'll stop there, see if there's any discussion.
Looks like possibly some of the teachers or speakers about it, when they have hangover from the previous. They're talking in this.
Yeah, because Brahma's not forgetful of the previous kalpas, right? And he speaks to Narada. Narada's not forgetful of the previous kalpas. He speaks to Vyasadeva. Then this person, that person.
It was all compiled at the same time. Because Vyasadeva wrote it
Right.
all at the same time and gave it to different students.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow speakers, they have different views of the same similar pastimes in different kalpas.
And not even through kalpas, even in one kalpa, in different yugas. Like when we come to the story of Lord Varaha, Prabhupada mentions that there's 2 incarnations of Lord Varaha. There's the red boar and there's the white boar. One, the red boar, appeared in the beginning of Brahma's day, during Swayambhuva Manu's period, reigning period. And the white boar appeared in the Chakshusha believe it was Chakshusha, yeah, which was the 6th Manu. We're in the 7th Manu. So here's the red one, here's the white one. And, you know, the red one is the one that killed Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu's brother. He's the one that killed Hiranyaksha. And the white one is the one that lifted the earth when it was falling untimely, as though it were the end of Brahma's day. The earth was falling into the ocean, Govardhak Ocean, and the white Varaha lifts it. And when we go to the Bhagavatam, those two stories are amalgamated. And you hear that Lord Boar went into the ocean, the Govardhak Ocean, and rescued the earth and simultaneously killed Hiranyaksha. And in one of the purports, Prabhupada describes that this is an amalgamation of two stories into one. And I believe that is Maitreya speaking to Vidura.
It's slightly opposite. This kalpa is called Shvetavaraha kalpa, or white. Incarnation. So the whole kalpa is Shvetavaraha. And every yuga, Satyuga, there is also a gold incarnation. So that is red color. So the yuga avatar of the Satyuga is red in color. And that is red Varaha.
In Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami explains that Lord Varaha appeared twice in this kalpa, in the Svayambhuva Manvantar period and Chakshusha period. Okay, go ahead.
So, what the architect, the geologists and everyone, what they're finding, these ancient bones they say are dinosaurs, that would be all the way from the previous Kali Yuga?
It can be, they don't know the real date on these things, but it could be from different yugas. Satya Yuga, Dwarpara Yuga, man was, remember, we're in Kali Yuga, man lives at most 100 years. In the previous age, Dwarpara Yuga, man lived 1,000 years. Not only that, they were much taller, like 12 feet tall instead of 6 feet tall. So when we find gigantic bones, they're from previous yugas where everything, the plants, the animals, the humans, were twice, thrice, 4 times taller than us pygmies here in Kali Yuga, But they get bewildered because they think we're supposed to be improving as time goes on. I don't know. Weird.
So, I was just sort of thinking about, a lot of the speculation of scientists and the hypotheses, and it's kind of funny, because you hear some of these hypotheses and you wonder, how could you possibly even come up with that hypothesis, like for instance, with, of course the Big Bang, but then towards the end of this material creation, they even say that the universe ceases to exist in the very end, and it basically makes me wonder, how could you even come to that conclusion at all without influence of any kind of scripture or anything? Surely you had to get that idea from anywhere, somewhere, Very odd, but also basically linking that to the actual annihilation in the Vedas when Lord Shiva annihilates this universe. Basically, the speculations, what they say is towards the end, things will start getting destroyed and planets and all this and that. And basically, the equilibrium of the universe, there's no life for millions and billions of years, and then finally, or whatever. But anywho, is it sort of when the universe is annihilated? Is it sort of an instantaneous thing?
No.
Where people witness it, or is it just sort of a gradual thing too?
No, it's a long period. Something like 1,000 years by the demigods of what do you call it? Fire, so much fire, and then so much flooding. Yeah.
Global warming?
Yeah, right. He doesn't happen
Like basic global
in
warming.
an instant.
Fire and flooding on the planet, but how about
Throughout the universe.
Throughout the universe.
Yeah, and ultimately even the highest planets get dissolved, get flooded at the end of Brahma's day.
Economic,
Yeah.
At the end of Brahma's day.
It's still an instant for Mahavishnu.
Yeah, for Mahavishnu, it's like a tenth of his breath, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
So was it true that Lord Brahma fell asleep or something like a nap when Satyavrata was put into the boat with Matsya?
Mm-hmm.
It was like a very brief.
Yeah, Rupa Goswami in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita discusses this point that we had an unusual devastation at the end of the Chakshusha Manvantar, and it resembled the destruction of the universe, and it was untimely. Like, what's this going on for? And then Vaivasvata Manu is going to take over, and he rescues the earth, and he rescues the species, right? And it resembles very closely to Noah and his ark. And we get to the story of Vaivasvata Manu saving the different species. Resembles
That was
Noah's
similar
ark.
to Matsya Avatar.
Matsya.
Yeah,
I thought it was Satyavrata. Is that the name of it?
yeah, that's his name.
Okay, so that he has no.
Vaivasvata Manu is a post.
So he's
Satyavrata
not the
is his
same
name,
person.
and it's Matsya Avatar.
Is he the same Acharya that wrote the Damodarastika?
I'm sorry?
Is he the same as who wrote Damodarastika?
No.
Okay. I was wondering.
Dhimaran.
Sorry, these two doesn't raise their hands. Yeah, that's okay. You said about devotional service and pure devotional service. What's the difference between devotional service and pure devotional service? And another question is that when you do your service just like your job, is that in one of these categories?
Yeah, so pure devotional service is a haitikiya pratihata, that there's no motive. So I'm going to do it even if I don't get paid. And if I don't get paid, well, why should I do that? I'm already busy. I got other things to do with my time. But now if you entice me that, oh, but if you do this service, we'll give you a position, we'll give you some payment, something, something, something. We'll do something for you. All of a sudden I've got time to do that, don't I? All of a sudden hours just manifested in my day to do that, you know? So pure devotional service doesn't have any motives, and it's never interrupted, you know? Okay, I might feel a little bit, of course if you're totally ill you can't come and do your service, but you know, oh, I'm a little bit tired, I can't do my service today, or somebody disturbed me, you know, so now I'm not going to come do my service, you know, whatever. So ahoitikiya pratihata, there's no karma or jnana, it's just, I want to serve Guru and Krishna so I can develop love for them. There's no motive. So that's a high platform. Most of us aren't on that platform, unfortunately. But we are on that platform if we follow Prabhupada's formula. Vaidhi Bhakti, follow the formula. You might not be spontaneous Raganuga yet, you know? So we have to promote pure devotional service, because only that pleases the Lord. And if we don't promote pure devotional service, and if we allow motivated devotional service to go on, then we all suffer. We're not helping that person, and we're not helping ourselves, we're not pleasing Prabhupada. That's the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, despite its chronology or geography. Okay, one last
And
thing.
where is it? In Bhagavatam it describes devotional service in the three modes of nature, right?
Yeah, that's Kapila Dev's teachings in the third canto,
Which
which
is
we'll get to later in the third canto, where Lord Kapila describes to his mother that there's 4 types of devotional service. There's devotional service in the mode of Tamagun, devotional service in the mode of Rajagun, devotional service in Sattvagun, and then pure devotional service above the modes of material nature. Okay,
Thank you.
we should stop there.
Jai.
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.